I'm joined by Martin Robinson, CEO of AOPA UK. How you doing, Martin?
I'm great, thank you. And yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Getting used to this working from home lark. Are you in London or are you at home?
I'm at home, which is in London.
The same thing, really.
Yeah.
Are you in the office, is what I meant to say?
No, I'm in my little office at home.
Okay, so what's it like up there? I haven't been up to London for a while. Is it kind of eerily quiet, or are people still out partying?
Parts of London are very, very quiet. Chinatown's like a ghost town.
Yeah.
I suppose for obvious reasons. But yesterday, the M25 is quite busy.
Wow.
Which was strange. But other than that, yeah, it's much quieter for sure. And the public transport I've been using because nobody else is on it.
Nobody else is on it. Excellent.
So,
the world of general aviation.
Say again?
The world of general aviation. How's that? How's that going to be affected?
Well, it's going to be affected, of course. We, along with a couple of other associations like the LAA, had been talking to the Department for Transport because obviously parts of Europe have been banning VFR flights.
Yeah.
Along with all flights. But the good news is that the Department for Transport have got no plans to do that here currently. But there's a kind of I suppose, how can you say, the government advice, to sort of distance yourself from people. How would that apply in the cockpit of a 152 or a 172? So you're going to have to be pretty certain if you go flying with somebody that their current health status, I suspect.
Probably only fly with people you live with.
Yeah. I think we've got to try and keep everything going as normal as possible, and so there will be an impact because obviously the amount of movements at aerodromes will be down, the amount of people going in for their flying lessons will be down. I think those people that are running professional courses will be trying to get their people through their professional courses. And having spoken to the CAA again, we know that looking at sort of extending certificates and licenses, whilst they're focusing on the professional end of the market, they're not forgetting general aviation, but they will get to that in due course, as will EASA. And we're kind of in a limbo situation in many respects because we're kind of still in EASA, but moving towards a position where we won't be in EASA.
Yeah.
So currently, I think whatever EASA decides, the CAA will implement. And from talking to my colleagues across Europe, EASA are looking to be practical about this particular problem. And I know that Mark Baker in the United States has written to the FAA along similar lines. So the good news is that globally, AOPA can connect because we know that pilots operate both EASA licenses, national licenses, and FAA licenses. So we're doing all what we can at the moment.
Okay.
Indeed, yeah. But it's a matter of, it's changing on a daily basis. And as soon as we have something that we want to share with people without scaremongering, we flash it up via Twitter and our website.
Okay.
So I think the good news is that the GA won't get left behind in terms of what the CAA can do and what EASA can do. But of course, it will be how do we move past the current situation and start supporting those aerodromes and cafes and restaurants on the aerodromes that we all like to use, and the maintenance organisations as we begin to come out of this problem at some point in the future. I guess my concern is the government doesn't seem to have an exit strategy for this particular problem. But I'm happy that with the Chancellor's announcements, and we're going to be looking at that and how best we can encourage the GA community that run businesses, how that they could obviously access those funds and those benefits.
Yeah, so if you're a registered facility or a DTO, as it's called now, I suppose, you're almost verging on the hospitality entertainment industry for some of it. If you're purely a leisure activity.
Well, it's certainly entertainment. I don't know about the hospitality bit, but certainly, it is definitely entertainment. But yeah, but we've got people, obviously halfway through training to get professional licenses, trying to beat the end of year deadline, because of coming out of EASA. So it'll be interesting to see how the government will react to our industry, because of the importance of keeping it going.
Yeah, I saw something the other day because I believe the professional exam sittings at Gatwick are done and dusted now. There won't be any of those for a while until it's taken. So, I think the CAA extended, or EASA extended, because I think you have to take them within 18 months of each other. So I think that's been extended.
Right.
So clearly there's all sorts of mitigations going to have to be put in place for stuff like that. And
absolutely, yeah.
They are, unsurprisingly, looking... Where does my machine keep making that noise?
Somebody trying to join in.
Technology, we're just kind of getting to grips with technology. I'd never even discovered this technology fully until this week. So still,
it's good.
If anyone out there's watching it, I'm still learning. Okay, learning all that stuff. Okay, tell you what, the situation is clearly going to be changing on a regular basis. So, like I said, people now, if it's okay with you, we'll stay in touch over the next few days, weeks, whatever it happens to be, and as stuff happens, then we can talk about it and explain about it and spread the word a bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So, one of the issues coming quite quickly down the path is this issue with regards to lead in fuel, the tetraethyl lead, and of course it comes from the sort of European Chemicals Agency, and they've got like a list of substances which are to be removed, and TEL is on that list. So we understand that the European Commission is going to ban its continued use at the end of the year, but that there would be an 18 months transition period.
Mm-hmm.
We've raised this with Grant Shapps and his colleagues, so lots of people are aware of it. Lots of people are beginning to look at it. Now, it will depend upon the UK, because effectively the ban will come into effect after we've left the European Union. Left EASA completely. You've already left the European Union. As to whether or not the UK would continue to impose the ban that the rest of Europe is placing on TEL. But it's clear from the documents I've seen that there's no easy fix for this particular problem. And whilst the low compression engines may be able to get a fix with UL 91 type arrangements, it's definitely going to have an impact on the high performance turbocharged engines, because there is no replacement for it.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure I've called my 182 a sort of high performance aircraft, but it's got a high compression engine in it, the A470U, which is clearly not suitable for unleaded fuel. So I shall be following that quite keenly. I'm guessing that one of the dangers is that's as you say, that's coming down the road quite quickly, but pretty much everyone's focused almost entirely on coronavirus at the moment. So we need to not open the curtains post coronavirus and then go, hey, we can go. Where's the fuel gone?
Well, this is also true. What we don't want is to go from one problem to another. So, we're keeping quite close tabs on this particular issue, because there's also some concern about whether or not the fuel companies will be producing enough fuel over the next few months. Because I'm not exactly sure the storage or shelf life of 100 LL, but I think it's like 1.5 to 2 months maybe. So
great, I'm afraid.
Okay, well, it does actually have a storage life issue.
Yeah.
So and of course, there's a company in near Liverpool in Ellesmere Port called InnoSpec.
Yeah.
And they're the only producers other than China of TEL. So I can send you some documents later on. You can have a read through it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
This is like a comment response document to the original European Chemical Agency's consultation, which was back in 2018.
Yeah.
AOPA, IOPA, Gamma, and EVAA all responded. But it's one of these environmental problems that the industry has got to face up to. Yeah, and particularly in America, the notion that you can continue to fly over people spraying lead is for the EPA a no-no. So we need to convince the powers that be that there has to be an investment in finding a replacement, and therefore the transition period has got to be longer until a suitable replacement can be found. But in researching the subject, it's interesting that TEL came into existence in 1922. So I'll send you some information.
I guess it's not the kind of thing you can quietly brew at home to put in your unleaded avgas to make it leaded.
Yeah, well,
it's probably one of those chemicals that's a little bit nasty if you're trying to make bulk. But what do I know? Maybe it's lovely.
I think you don't want to be getting it on your hands, that's for sure. But it has to be blended in the right quantities.
Yeah.
So
I wasn't really expecting people to go and start pouring lead into their fuel tanks.
Oh, I thought you might be finding a new use for your poutine still.
No, I think that's going to be busy. Yeah.
So that's.
What do the old vintage cars do? Do they currently run on avgas and stuff, or are they? What's that?
Well, they've got a supplement which they pour into their tanks, which of course, being on terra firma, you can do.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that the oil companies have been sort of saying in their responses that you're looking at an investment of somewhere between 250 to 350,000 euros just to do some research to make sure that whatever you come up with as an alternative can be used safely, and then you've got to run it for a while to make sure it doesn't have any nasty habits. But it's not just about the fuel; it's then about the corrosion on the fuel lines and in the fuel tanks.
Yeah.
So this is potentially a big problem.
That thing about deaths and taxes should really be the only things for certain taxes and general aviation challenges, really.
Indeed. But we're trying to just basically show the community, like I think you're probably doing as well, is that we're doing all we can to be business as normal. We're just not in sort of close proximity to colleagues right now for obvious reasons. Yeah. But business goes on.
Yeah, no. We're all kind of trying to figure it out, I guess, aren't we? And that's one of the reasons for doing things like this, to be honest, is to kind of just find different ways of spreading the word, and as things change really quickly, to get relevant information and stuff like that out there.
Yes, and we did our regional meeting using the same technology. Had 15 people online from around Europe and the United States having a discussion. It's interesting because it sort of brings about a new discipline.
Yeah,
you have to listen to people speak and be polite about speaking as well. But
the good thing about this is I have the power to
get
change.
rid of me.
I can feel that everyone can see the whole of you or the whole of me or
both of us.
And the advanced course, which I've yet to take, will enable video sharing and screen sharing and all sorts of other bits and pieces as well. But that's
very good.
Anyway, thanks very much for your time, Martin. I shall
You're very welcome.
Give you a call sometime. Well, whenever something interesting happens or important happens or good or bad happens, give us a shout if you hear it first, and then we'll.
All right, then just one last thing for you.
Yeah,
I don't know what you've been hearing on the airwaves, but with the UK going out of EASA at the end of the year,
Yeah.
A number of places are now looking to go direct to EASA for their oversight, like
Yeah.
American schools did.
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be a big change to how GA and the professional training market, which is done at GA aerodromes,
Yeah.
which supports the life of those aerodromes. And these businesses need to stay within the EASA system because their marketplace is Europe.
I was looking on the EASA site. I can't remember exactly where it was. I did find it in the end. My Google skills didn't desert me completely. But there's two lists or one list. But anyway, there's a list basically of UK, well, actually not UK, worldwide schools that have direct EASA approval, with a comment on it saying that there's a lot more schools in process, and the document will be updated frequently. So there's quite a few of the UK schools who already have EASA approval.
Yeah.
I suspect quite a few more who are going through EASA approval, and I would be very surprised if there were any professional ATOs offering professional courses who aren't either already EASA approved or seeking EASA approval.
Well, yes, and I've spoken to a few of them, and they've got various approvals from EASA to do various bits of training, particularly in the simulator area.
Yeah.
But I think that having heard other people comment on this subject and say things like, "We got to have a positive outlook. We can use the Saudi market for our training." Well, that ship sailed 20 years ago, I'm afraid. Yeah. And it gives me great concern that the current Secretary of State is not necessarily getting the best advice.
If you look at the employment market, okay, not today, because frankly, today is not an amazing employment market if you're a commercial pilot, and Monday probably won't be either, to say the least. But if you look at the likes of EasyJet with their fleet in Austria, if you look at Wizz, Ryanair, etc., then it's clear that having an EASA license for many people is going to be an essential thing for their job.
Well, it is, and that's why people like EasyJet have got their Austrian AOCs. In fact, I think Bristol Ground School is putting a lot of their stuff through Austria as well at the moment, because of the ease of dealing with that particular regulator.
Yeah.
But I think that the training market, if it moves offshore, what will be left to train pilots for how many UK airlines, professional airlines? 5 or 6?
This week or in a month's time?
This week. In a month's time, probably even less than that.
Sadly and tragically.
And the other thing which I think that the UK is trying to negotiate at the moment with the European Union is these third and fourth freedoms. Not many people will have heard of cabotage. I'm sure you will have heard of it.
I have.
But I'm not sure that UK AOCs from next year will have those same cabotage rights that they've enjoyed previously. And that's likely to put up the price of an airline ticket to Europe or anywhere else for that matter. And it may even reduce the numbers of people flying, because of the shift in prices. Our Ryanairs and EasyJets on the UK register won't be able to fly those sort of upside down W's. They'll be there and back. Let's just hope that for UK GA, we don't get treated in the same way. That that when we do fly to Europe, we'll still be able to fly in France and not have to come back out again to go to somewhere else in France, which is kind of nonsensical. It's not environmentally friendly.
That would be a royal pain in the backside.
Yes, and people are already beginning to come unstuck, Ian, because, for example, between France, Belgium, and the Netherlands, Schengen is suspended.
Yeah.
Which means, and right now for UK pilots, if you go from France to Belgium or go to Netherlands, you've got to go via a customs designated airport.
Yeah.
And exiting the country, you've got to come out via a customs designated airport as well. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself on the wrong end of the law. as a member recently found. I've put this to the Home Office already, and the Home Office, as you're probably aware, are coming forward with some consultation around their EGAR process. But the EGAR will be required for both in and out, all aviators, regardless where you come from. So we've been trying to spread that message across Europe as well, that in future you'll need to complete an EGAR to come in, and an EGAR to go out. But the UK is not going to be insisting on specific designated airfields for foreign pilots coming in. But the problem in Europe has been, as I'm sure you're aware, that when you have a Schengen arrangement, you don't need as many people to man the borders.
No, and visitors flying to France now, there are significantly fewer customs airfields now than there used to be in France, and certainly around Paris, it's a real challenge.
Yes, and this is the point that being outside the EU, we now have to clear customs and immigration. And the other thing is, I think La Rochelle is quite well known, is that they have 4 hours notification for customs and 2 hours notification for immigration. And people, they need that information.
So they've got a customs school on the airfield, I believe.
Say again?
I think La Rochelle's got a customs training school on the airfield, I believe.
Right.
Or next to it.
Well, but if you're going in there, you have to give 2 different notifications. And again, people can get caught out by that. So I think over the next few weeks, we're going to have to start getting more information and finding out where this information can be obtained from and pushed out.
Yeah.
People, right now, it's not a problem because of the current situation. But as we come out of it and people start, looking to go somewhere again, people are going to have that information.
Yeah.
And there's no easy place to find information about the suspension of Schengen arrangements between EU member states. It's not promulgated in any NOTAM or any kind of notice. And the best I could do eventually was to find some European Commission document, and all it spoke about was the shipping issue between the Baltic and North of Europe. Scandinavia rather than North Europe, where they had suspended Schengen for those ships. But if you fly GA and you go to France and you want to go to Netherlands or to Belgium, you've got to be aware that Schengen is suspended. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself in a lot of hot water.
I think what we'll do is we might make a special. In a couple of weeks, before things get started again, we'll do maybe a special one of these just on customs and immigration procedures.
Yeah,
practical tips. I'm sure people like Skydemon will be on it. Hopefully.
Oh, good. Yeah. Good.
Well, thank you very much. Have a great weekend.
Enjoy your week, and you, sir. Good to see you.
And I'll talk to you soon.
Hope you enjoyed that, or at least if it was useful. If you did, could you please give us a thumbs up and subscribe? Thank you.